I thank the President for recognizing me and for my colleagues for letting me go ahead and make a few comments on this. I agree with everything that's been said. I believe that this is the fair thing to do. I think it's wrong for the government to penalize some businesses over others. I think it's wrong, frankly, to have laws on the books that we know that aren't being enforced. To have laws on the books that you know create law violators is the wrong thing to do. And frankly, in almost every state where, as Senator Durbin pointed out, in his state, in my state, next door to his state, you're supposed to pay this tax, people just don't do it. I think last year in Missouri, we had about 300 people pay this tax in the entire state. I would bet more than the collective tax they paid that more than 300 people bought something over the internet in the state of Missouri last year. So this is a tax that's on the books. It needs to be collected, and we ought to see what we can do to make that happen. States that don't have a sales tax don't have to collect it. States that don't want to participate don't have to participate. But with all of the technology now available, with the $1 million exemption for businesses that want to sell a few things over the internet, or maybe they want to sell everything over the internet, they just don't sell very much. The objections that are reasonable to this, I think, have been more than met. I saw in a publication just last week on this topic, three pretty well-known conservatives, one talking about the internet at its inception when William F. Buckley said, if the advantage of tax-free internet commerce marginally closes out local industry, reforms are required. This is at a time when nobody was buying things over the internet, when it was just getting started, when we didn't want to have a unique tax for the internet. But in all of those discussions, I never heard a serious discussion that if you're on the internet, you should avoid taxes that are required to be paid. And William F. Buckley at the time was saying whenever this becomes a problem, something should be done about it. And that's what this bill would do. One of my former colleagues when I was in the House, now the governor of Indiana, Mike Pence, says, I don't think the Congress should be in the business of picking winners and losers. Inaction by Congress today results in a system today that does pick winners and losers, and he's talking about this system. Al Cardenas, the chairman of the American Conservative Union, said, there is no more glaring example of misguided government power than when taxes or regulations affect two similar businesses completely differently. The head of the American Conservative Union says that. He goes on to say, over time, the company that has to comply with a tax or a regulation will lose market share to its competitor who has carved out from this government interference. That's what this is about. I had a news conference on this in St. Louis a year or so ago, and as soon as the camera was turned off, the person interviewing me said, you know, one of my wife's friends has a wedding dress shop, and she sees people come in all the time who are clearly there to try on a wedding dress, get the number off the wedding dress, order it on the internet, and Madam President, if the only difference in the cost of that wedding dress, and you know, I guess there's lots of variation in wedding dresses, but say 8 or 10%, if the only difference is the sales tax, that's not a fair competition. And the person who they went in the store to try on the wedding dress paid their local property taxes. They helped pay for the police protection. They helped pay for the sidewalk and the parking place, and then ordered the wedding dress from somebody who had contributed to none of that. And so I join my colleagues in saying this is the right thing to do. I hope we can get it done. And frankly, if we don't get it done, the states that say this tax needs to be voluntarily paid and know that's not happening should just get that law off the books. Having a law on the books that you know people violate is not the right thing to do. I would give back to Mr. Enzi whatever time I haven't used, or Mr. Alexander any time I haven't used up, and I look forward to hearing others talk on this.